All right, all you devils, how's it going? Happy Monday, the 14th of September. So, of course, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin here. Now, first up, right, so members know this, right? I guess this will likely end up on YouTube, but for those of you that look for those Friday videos, my internet was out in actually a fairly big section of Austin on Friday. So we were down. I was offline all of Friday. Came back on by Saturday, and I looked at, I actually considered doing it on Saturday, but the market was just going sideways and had been since the last time we looked at it. I didn't think there was much I could add. I was hoping we might get some action today, and we're getting maybe a start on something here. Now, before we get into that, because of the delay, right? So we had been running this promotion. I'm over here on our Twitter page. So this we're going to extend this through the rest of today. We had intended to end it on Friday, but with the issue with the internet at my place. So we'll run this through midnight tonight. So this would still be available to any of you that are interested in taking advantage of these discounts here on the educational membership. Now, so just because I have people writing me, we're a little bit confused here. So if you were to pursue that, I'm over here on our site here. It's plans and prices. If you decided to pursue this, it's select. Now you're going to come over here. It's going to show you the we'll call them regular pricing. But people come down here and they look through all of this and they go, okay, that's everything that's included, and they're looking for the buy, right? But it's this actually over here, right? That it's the subscribe. That is how you put something into your cart, and then you would decide here how many months you'd want. So let's say you were doing a 3-monther. Then that's going to put it in your cart, and then it would be to checkout. I just had a few people kind of confused about this. And then here's where that discount code goes. So over here was, take note, they do have to be all caps, right? So if we were doing a 3-monther, labor 20, right? So labor 20 goes right here, apply discount, that'll change the pricing, and then it's checkout. Just so that you know, because that little subscribe, it looks like maybe you're subscribing to an email list, but that's actually how you subscribe to the membership, right? So all that said, we can get rid of that. Okay, so again, we'll run this through midnight tonight, right? So just a reminder here. Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's come back over to Bitcoin. So here, not a huge change here out on the daily, other than the little bounce I should say I was hoping to see here. As I went through last weekend, I had a series of buys here, and the first one got hit at 10.2, and we're going to sit here at 10.7. So a good start on that. And again, not rocket science here. Again, as I went through a couple of times here, all I did was just wick off the POCs here and just created that little green box and had some limit orders sitting down there, and came down, popped, got it. If we zoom in here a little bit more, not enough here really to say that we're retracement's over, but certainly a good start on it. And now note here, right, Vegas wave right in between. Amazingly consistent. Right? Don't let yourself go eye blind to that. Right, it really is an important level to when it's getting tested, right? And we see the reaction coming out of here. Now we'll get down to the smaller count, but I just make that again. You don't need to be an Elliott Wave analyst here to catch that kind of retrace. It's really pretty simple, which is often the most effective way to approach the market. Now, so that said, right? So we'll see here now how far this goes. You would anticipate that this is if we're going to push up here, likely there's going to be a retest, right? So that's I say this all the time to you guys, right? So if you miss this turn, don't fret that, right? They're going to need to test it, right? So if on the retest, then you've got an opportunity to be a buyer here with a clear point here, assuming function of whether you're trying to swing trade it or you're just doing some accumulation. Well, if you're trading it with leverage, you got to have a stop on it. So the stop here gives you that lower risk reward with the potential for something more substantial to come out of that. So that said here, and again, out on the daily, I think this is pretty straightforward here. So next up, we're likely going to need to test all of these lows here and see how that responds here. Because just in the shorter term, well, we can say, okay, here's a high, here's the next high, right? So we got a series of lower highs, low, lower, low. So it depends on the time frame that you're analyzing here. coming this way, right? It's another higher high, but it's a function of the time frame that you're looking at. But this, I would not be concerned because I missed this. Well, and of course, hey, shit, this thing could be flying from here, but likely there's some sort of retest, right? So if you miss the turn here, just stand by, be patient, right? This is one of the biggest problems people have. They say, oh shit, man, I'm missing it, right? So they jump into it. All right, and then the retest comes. Now you're underwater in the retest, so that pressure, you just shit, I fucked it up, right? And then you're chastising yourself because you gave into the FOMO. Now it comes back down. Now you're underwater and you're looking to add. Right now, is adding to a loser in your game plan, right? Maybe it is, right? Maybe you can leverage that down. But if you didn't have a plan, see where the FOMO gets you is when you don't really have a plan. You haven't planned the trading out, right? So that's what I was trying to give you guys here was, okay, here's a reasonable section to be looking to add if we come down into this range. So my thought was to ladder in here. If we came down here, I was looking for maybe a test of that trend line since it hadn't really been tested from above. So there was a clear plan here. Now, see, now you go, oh shit, I missed it, right? So now you impulsively buy, right? And so you can make a case here. You'd just be buying a breakout here, and that breakout is going to need to get retested, right? So if it comes back, so we're likely to hit something here. If it goes that far, well, that'd be 11.2. Now you're really kicking yourself. But at some point, right? If this is going to be a valid breakout, this needs to get tested, right? So that sets up the 1, 2, 3, right? And that's how it goes. So careful about when you see that FOMO, that urge, like, oh God, because what your brain sees is that. Right, but if you just look at the market structure, you could anticipate that likely this is the breakout here. Traders are going to want to test it, right? Is it safe? Right? They use that. I'm dating myself there. I don't know if most of our subs will even get that reference, right? That's from Marathon Man. Most of you probably don't even know that movie. Anyway, all right, so let's go over and look at the smaller count here. So I'm down here on a 30-minute, and I've got a lot on here. So let's just, oh shit, here, let me, let's take this one off first here, just to go over a couple of bits here. If I can get it off, there we go. All right, so this is dictating my count here. I should say influencing my count heavily, right? The 3 here is so clearly a 3 that I'm more inclined to put the B here, thinking that we've got a, pardon me, I got the wrong labeling on here. So if this is an AB, 1, 2, right? Are we done, right? Because you can finish it. Right? Could be, right? It's a very sloppy range here, so the Elliott gets suspect. The last thing we do get is we get a clear 5 here that finishes the last drive down. So you're going to have to kind of back into a kind of an ugly Elliott 4-ish kind of thing. But we're not excuse me, we're not out of the woods enough here to think that. So if this is 1, 2, well, to go 3, 4, 5, the symmetry starts to really break down. So I think you're much more inclined to be thinking that this is all connected, right? So you want this to all stay as one impulse. So whatever is happening here now, while certainly it's possible that we're starting up on a new trend here, I'd be cautious because it just doesn't have the right look, right? So this actually would look better, right? Then you'd have more symmetry, and the shaping of it would look better. So what is that? Look what that takes you down to, 92, right? What did we just talk about at 92, right? The testing here of this trend line and the possibility here, because nothing says that this is the low now. So I mean, just putting that together, right? We look at a longer time frame. You go, okay, well, I could sure see how that would be clear. But now note what you'd be saying here. Now it looks different here on this scale. Now you're saying A, B, C. So the Elliott, is with Bitcoin, it's often just elusive, right? So you don't want to lean on it too heavily when it's not clear, and often it is not clear. So then you can go to support and resist. Just basic price action, right, is certainly adequate to evaluate here. So as we come back here, looking at this Elliott count, because it's unclear, let's kind of take a price action view of it. Get off of there. Okay, so this we know the algo. Actually, we've looked at this, right? Perfect golden corner. It was a golden corner as well. So we've been over it enough times. There was a perfect tag in the median line at that algo target, and then we get the reaction, right? So that's how we know this is algos at play here. So then they come here. Now this gets a little sloppy, right? We looked at this last week. Right, we get a little sloppy here, but it looks like that's just a, they're pushing. You get a double top. It's always a little iffy when you get a break like that because you don't know. Oh shit, are they? Is this another algorithm that's using maybe a 68 or something? You just don't know. But it's the reaction that comes off of it, and then we go all the way down. We've to and through. We're almost a third target. So likely they stayed with it here. And I think we looked at this last week here. It looks like this was perhaps. There we go. That's a little shallow here. It's not clear what they use. There's a 50 off of a secondary pivot. So now you're kind of guessing. But this, that's a judgment call, right? So that wouldn't be a place to be buying. So you certainly wouldn't want to buy that breakout. But if you were looking for a chance to sell it, when you get that kind of move up here, and then it doesn't test and then continue to go, well, maybe just getting stopped in short to that would have set you up there. Yeah, hindsight, right? I know. Okay, let's pull back out here. So I'm on this 30-minute here. A couple things. So since we've been through that, let's get this bit off of here, right? We've been through this, so there's the little sloppy corner here. So what can we see? Well, we got swing, we got a retrace, right? Internal retrace that goes external. Now, what's interesting here, there's a lot of confluence down here. Well, so number one, just again looking a bit of just price action, right? That's a lot of rejection wicks. So clearly there are buyers down here trying to push it up, and then today we've got a risk on day across all the markets. So looks like maybe the start of something. Well, we got to dig into this level here because if this is going to launch us, well, I need to see more than a broken algo swing that went in the middle of nowhere. You got to build a case here. If you're going to start to be aggressively buying off of the idea that the low is in here, well, just kind of sitting out here in no man's land is not enough. Let me get back to an hour. Oh, so from here, this is the last low, right? Assuming an algo would have been looking there. Right, so we're breaking here. So you gotta wonder there. Oh, shit, God, that's annoying. TradingView, not my favorite platform. Okay, so then you look here and you go, could it be there? Last swing, there was another 3, right? So we looked at this last week. How this 3 is so similar to this 3. So we take that off of the low, and now we right to the golden zone, maybe, and then again, right, simple stuff, right? So there's clear rejection wicks, right? So it tried, rejected, tried again, rejected, tried again, rejected. So we know there were sellers there. Now, right? So it was resistance. Now, does it become the support? Well, let's go back to that 30-minute here because there's some interesting things that happened down here. And hopefully, members, you guys have all kind of dug into it and you have some idea about what we're looking at there. All right, so this one, let's get this off here and see if we can build a stronger case just off of the correction. So the idea being that this whole bit here is all corrective. Is all corrective, even though that's just a waterfall. The 3 that comes off of it, and now we got another 3. Well, so a couple of things here. So one, if I get this right on that, I'm trying to get it right on that pivot. There we go. So we've got this range here. We get this. Now note here, we come up right to the center line. That looks pretty solid. So it makes me look at that and think, okay, well, what if I doubled that, right? So I look at that. You guys have seen me do this many times. So I'm just going to clone this, and I'm going to just look and see, well, is there anything there? Well, if I go about halfway, well, that's kind of interesting. So I'm bumping it in there. That makes me want to keep going. So if I can pull it down right here. Now look at that. Absolutely guarantee you that's not random. Okay, so we've doubled the range. Now we looked at this last week here. We had the wolf range here. We had an exact 100 here. Pardon me, it was a 300. And the same thing that we had a 300 up here. So we know there's confluence technically here. Now, but what else? What can I get more to lean into that pivot? Well, here I'm going to use. I got to go to a different template, right? So we go negative, right? So we go here. I'm going to go up to here, right, to get this pivot. So just looking at this length, right, swing low to swing high, and then I'm going down. We hit the 1382 to the tick. Okay, right. So now, I had the golden zone from the swing below. I've got the 138 on the reverse. I've got the geometry from doubling the channel. Now, what else could be there? Right. So then I think, well, what if? Oh, pardon me, wrong one. All right. What if I took this swing here, right? Because we're considering this a candidate for an impulse to come down here. Well, if I bring that right to that pivot. Look at the 1618 is literally on top of the 1382 from the negative. So I've got quite a little cluster down here, just this little pocket down here of just technical confluence. So I've got geometry. I've got a fib pole that goes beyond the 100, right? So here's so it's still a retracement that goes beyond the 100, right? So we go down. It's just an unusual way to pull it. So we come down here, so I got this nice confluence here. So now I'm looking at this going, okay, so what would an Elliottician be thinking? Well, so your first thought is, could it be a WXY? Because I want to finish it here. I want to go ABC and finish it. Tricky, right? So the problem being this, right? You can't get 3 in that. So you're kind of, with your Elliott hat on, you're kind of forced into the idea that we sure want to pay attention to what's going to happen here, right? If we get there, right, on this pivot, right, on this swing, can we get there? Well, how would that line up technically? Right. So again, members, I'm assuming you guys have all done this. Right. All right. So look, golden zone right on the other side of it, but we don't want it to break this pivot, right? If we're going to hang on to the idea that we've got an impulse, because this can be an impulse. There's a 3 there, and you can definitely get an impulse down to this pivot. Now, what do we got here? Well, we've just broken out of this little wedge here, right? So we've got that little break, but we got a first thing up, right? We know the algos are in here, so we don't have to wonder about that. But this area here is I think will be the tell, right? If we're going to push up and get to that, likely, right? Nothing's guaranteed. We got all this big volume range here. Likely, there's going to be a test there. Now, if we come back down. Right, so this would not. You want to be cautious here as we're going into that, because you're too late, right? So remember, we always want to be looking to buy on the retrace, right? So we had a push, retrace, right? Now we're already past that, so we've gone. This trade is gone. You don't want to be buying a breakout here now, but that doesn't mean you can't get long here. Let's zoom in there a little bit. I know that's a lot of shit. Here, let me get some of this off, so we can see it a little better. Okay, so all of this can come off. So we've made the case here. And then there is this 5 that comes down here. So it's a candidate. That's the only clear 5 that I can see that potentially finishes this. Now coming off of that, excuse me. So you look and you think, okay, maybe that's my 1 right there. 1, 2. It's not much of a 3. Right? We got a slight break. Now, so you might have been thinking, okay, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It does overlap. Right? It's clear ABC, but you got a little overlap. So you can either compromise there, and I say, well, fuck, it's only a tick, right? So you be careful when you do that, right? So you would want to absolutely put a marker there, saying, because if you get in trouble, that's likely where it came from, right? So from that little compromise. I don't see that's not a great finish. You got some sort of it really looks more like an ABC. So again, the Elliott is elusive here. It's not clear as to where we are. That first place, right? There's not much of a 5 in that 1. Well, I'm on a 30-minute. You probably get down to it wouldn't really matter. So it's swing, retrace. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, ugly. It's not clean Elliott. It's not. All right, 1, 2, 3. Looks like another 3. So maybe it was just a leading diagonal. We just rather than hang on to the idea it's an impulse, we accept the overlap and say, okay, fine, diagonal. Now, of course, it's not the diagonal you'd hope for, because if it were a leading diagonal, we want more like this, right? So it'd be like this. So 3. Well, let's just measure it, right? Before I just go off on it. Okay, so 1382, 127 window, fine for a diagonal. But so we know that 3 is longer than 1, but we got to check just by eyeballing it here, we can see that 5 is shorter than 3. So you do not have your ideal leading diagonal. It's, again, you go, fuck, right? What do I do with that? Well, so we can see it is a 5. So from this pivot, I might look at it and say, okay, well, I'm not sure about the Elliott count, but I came right down to this prior support, got it tested just at the 50, and now look, right, where'd we go? Right, so this trade is come and gone. Now, so you wouldn't, you're late to the party here. Now, was that tradable? Well, yeah, you had to be there. I mean, this is a 30-minute, and that's not much of a 3, is it? So again, that looks like 5. So fuck, can we do that? Let's just see here. I'm just thinking we might be able to go A, B, C, but because that sure looks like 5, doesn't it? I don't know if it matters at this time. I wouldn't overanalyze the Elliott here because we know it's always a little sloppy here on these lower time frames here. But what I could just use price action and say, well, there's a 5, right? So it's some sort of a 5. That's the 3. You know, good luck with that. I don't know that it matters. So I think this would have been, well, here was the trade really, right? So if we look at this, and again, just a little price action, it's the swing and the retest, right? So that's the entry. This is a 5 all day. Right, you're not turning that into a 3. You could probably wedge it, right? You could probably get the A, B, you know, right? If this thing goes, that's what we'll have to do. Because you can see, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's A, B, not much of a C, but you know, you probably on a 5-minute you could get it. But here's the trade right there, right? So if you're unsure about this and you got that little poke and then it started to go, that's the trade. Looks like you might have had this as well, right? So swing, right? If it's going to be a diagonal back down to the 50 to test it, what are they doing there? They're just testing. How do we come out of it? All right, is it safe? Is it safe? Up they go. Any advantage to carrying that on? Well, maybe there's a channel here where we're getting a little throw over, which is if you're looking to get long, that's what you want to see. So you missed this little pop here. What was our low here? 10. Well, shit, there's 10.2, right? That's not, I mean, I bought it back here, but it came right back to that entry point. There was the trade. And even here on a retest, look at that. That's how you got to do it. So if you're just playing off the price action, so we got a swing, retrace. Swing, what do? We come back, we test. It's safe. Up we go. Now, that's a little wick rejection, so too soon to call that, you know, that top is in, but certainly you got the start on some things here that would make you a little cautious. Well, you probably do it this way, all right? Just wicking off those bodies, all right? So we got a little resistance zone up here, a little rejection. Now, right? So you want it to come back down. Where would you be looking for it? I'd be, you know, somewhere down here, right? Before we took off. So first thing that has to clear is this off to the left. All right, so we got that to deal with. Now, so if we come back down here, I'd look at both of them. I'd look at this one because that's the last low before we went off. All right, come here. Up here. All right, so look where that lines up. So the 50 would be right there. At least you'd see down here, you're kind of, okay, you're hoping that something holds there. If it comes down here and you can get this to shape in a 3, at least I can look over here and say, okay, I got some prior resistance here, can kick for my support, but careful, right? Because if that breaks, we're going to the 618, where here's the next little pocket. So you could make this case here, okay, I got a little cluster right here. So if I'm going to come down there, again, I want to see a 3. Well, we know that's how the market moves, right? We always want to, particularly if you're in a correction, right? We want to see a 3 come out of there, right? Then remember, you don't have to sit here with a limit order because that's the test. It's the test that you want, and then it defines where your stop is. That's the trade. So don't FOMO here. Let the market prove itself. Okay, so this is a pretty good rip here. I mean, shit, what was our low here? 10.2, and we're at 10.7.5. Come on down here and show me that it's real. So we can anticipate if this is coming down and we're going to hold this structure. Now we're going back up. Now, does that look like we might have a better case there? We go back to an hourly to say, okay, we got, right, we're getting further from this low where we had all that technical confluence and we have kind of this iffy Elliott count to get us to finish down here. It's not, I mean, shit, look at that. It's not much of a finish. How are you finishing that? 3, 4? good luck, right? It's just, it's not there. And look, Elliott's not always there. So you look at that and you go, well, shit. Either you say, well, if I can't read the Elliott count, I'm not going to trade it, which is not what I would advise. Remember, it's always third in the order of priorities. If it's not there, it's not there. Don't force it. So I'm kind of looking here. What am I looking for? 5s and 3s. It's as simple as that. You simplify it. If you don't have a textbook, then you go, nah, fuck it. I don't have a textbook leading diagonal. Well, okay. Would I have preferred one? Absolutely. But the market doesn't cooperate. So it doesn't mean you can't trade it. So right now I've got a swing. I've got a technical pivot here that's it's been tested, right? So I know we're good here. So what has to happen now? Something, right? If it's legit. Well, another way to look at it this way, right? Here was the range we were in, right? Like we just do like that. All right, so we're in this range. Now we've broken out of that range. Okay, good, but you never buy the breakout. Ever do you buy that? You don't buy that. You wait. It's got to get tested from above. Right? And if you miss it, you miss it. You got to let it go because eventually another one will come. Right? Let it get up here. We know we're going to have resistance up here. Let it get up here if that's where it's going, right? We don't know where it's going. You got some structure to deal with, but if it's going to just continue to kick here, beautiful, right? Remember, I mean, shit, I'm loving it, right? So if we come back up here, come and retest it. So now you got to wait. Now, if you're a little more aggressive, you might say, okay, right, we're going to test here, okay? Right, you're trading on a smaller time frame, and nothing wrong with that. That's not a place. Well, I'd have a stop on that if that's me. If I'm trading it rather than accumulating. Don't buy that. That's how you get yourself in trouble, right? Because the first thing that happens, right? 'Cause of course, traders know this, guys, right? They know they're going to be breakout traders there. So that's why it's so consistently you see the breakout come back. And so the breakout traders, right? Now they're underwater, right? Now they're panicking. Now, if they start to really panic, what's that? Sell orders. Sell orders. Now, you know, so maybe you take a stop there. If you try to take that, you're sitting here. Well, where's your next buy? Oh, we got a nice little pocket right here. Right, there's POC. Does it come down in a 3? Can I get a 3, please? Buyer all day. Why would you not take that? Well, I suppose the reason you would not take that is because you're looking at the Elliott count and you're thinking, well, I just watched that Trade Devil guy tell me that didn't look like much of a finish. So it's potentially, this is just a complex 4 going in. Shit, I guess I got to go to the 3 hour here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That wouldn't keep me out of the trade because the Elliott is unclear here. That wouldn't keep me out of the buy here, but I sure as hell would be tight on the stop. I wouldn't give that a lot of room for that potential, because just look here, right? So this is the reality. When we get up here, so here's the algo play. If they go right to that target or even a little higher and they run into this resistance, that sure is going to look like a nice setup to get down to that. Now, are they going to get there? Well, we won't know until we see what happens here, and that's where all that structure is. So this can go from here. There's nothing that says it can't go. It's not like, oh shit, right? I can't figure out the Elliott, so it can't go. No, that's never what I'm saying. I'd be a buyer here too. But right, so it depends, right? So what do we get? Do we get a 3 here, or we get a 5? If we get a 5, now I'm not so sure, right? Now I'm thinking that's the better play, and I'm waiting down here. Where are we down? Back to 9,200, which is right where we started, right? 9,200. So if that does come down there, I'm just got my catcher's mitt. Bring it on down. No problem, right? Because it was part of the trading plan all along. 10-2, 9-2. So I'm going to average in. I split the difference. Long and strong. Oh shit! I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Is there anything else I can add here? I'm not sure there is. I think I just lost that chart. Okay, so holy shit, that went fast. 29 bucks. Sorry, guys. Didn't realize I'd gone that long. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, you guys, I've got some homework to do because of I missed Friday. I've got 15 altcoins I'm looking at right now. So I'm going to end the Bitcoin video here, and we'll put this up on YouTube. But the members, those 15 alts, we'll go over them together. So let me wrap here, and then I'll be back to you guys shortly. Again, just a reminder, last day, right? Last day. We don't do them that often. So if you're interested, it's a way to save a little dough. You know, it's funny. You know who buys these the most? Existing members, which I take that as a positive, not a negative, because they've already sampled the product, right? So they're like, wow, I can get that product for less. That's who buys the majority of those, for what that's worth. Okay, guys, back to you shortly with those. We'll go through those 15 alts. Okay, back to you then.